After Mr. Korn, the senior surgeon, Eric Young, became the president in the mid-1930s, and in fact he remained president until the end of the war, perhaps the longest presidency of all because of the unusual circumstances, and was extremely active in the life of the hospital. He raised a great deal of money and was very active with Carnival Queens and all the massive small fundraising matters which kept the infirmary going, which in between the question of the major benefactions. Under his rule, there was the major change, I suppose, was change in the establishment contributions, which we've talked about. It was felt not entirely appropriate that the radiotherapy treatment by machines rather than just lumps of radium. So they needed to be all refurbished, and Mr. Downing of Downing's Bricks, he gave £10,500 for the building which would house the X-ray department. Sadly, he died the day before the Duke of Kent came along to lay the foundation stone. The pathology department, they looked at refurbishing the Smith-Child ward, but they decided that it was beyond. So they took it down and rebuilt it to a modern standard. There is a tiny plaque over the door which records this fact going back to the 1869, the only part of that building which survived, but that is where it was. We were getting to the stage where there was equipment which a small private nursing home couldn't offer, and yet there was no means of supplying it to the well-off. They didn't want and weren't expected to be taking from the charity, but there was felt to be no reason why, if you like, this equipment shouldn't be hired. And of course it gave an income to the hospital. They paid for the beds and they paid for treatments. And it helped by the fact that we've said that for 130 years that medical staff, the senior medical staff, had not been paid for their treatment of hospital patients, and this continued. But it was felt again that this was unreasonable for private patients, that they should not pay or be paid. So, and it also helped to, shall we say, soften the blow, the fact that the consultants were treating these patients and not being paid at all, and gave them some degree of an income. But this again assured a much more stable income for the infirmary. So I think that was probably his biggest contribution of Eric Young, because before he could make any major changes to the buildings, the war arrived. And indeed, just as the war did start, the buildings which had been desired, the eye theatre, the new Horton wards, and a new extension to the nurses' home were all hit by stray bombs. Fortunately, nobody was killed, but it was a close-run thing, because the nurses' home, for example, had only been opened 6 days before and was not yet occupied. Well, we're now into the war period.